Every moment tells a story. This is Timeline Unfolded. Have you ever heard a story so strange it feels like it had to be fiction? A college student crashes her car on a snowy New Hampshire road and then vanishes. No struggle, no footprints, just a girl. Gone. Her name was Maura Murray, and in just a matter of minutes, she slipped into one of America's most haunted mysteries. Tonight, we unfold the timeline of her disappearance and the chilling theories that may explain why she never came home. She wasn't just a name on a missing poster. She was a daughter, a sister, a teammate, and a friend. Born in Massachusetts in 1982, Maura was fourth of 5 children in a close competitive family. In high school, she was a standout runner, fast, focused, relentless. Her talent earned her a spot at West Point, where she studied chemical engineering and followed her sister's footsteps. But after a minor honor code violation, she left the academy and transferred to the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, to study nursing. By 2004, it seemed like Maura was rebuilding her life, but in the weeks before she vanished, everything started to change. On the afternoon of February 9, 2004, Maura Murray quietly left the University of Massachusetts Amherst campus. She didn't tell her friends where she was going. She didn't tell her professors. She didn't even tell her family. What she did do was her professors, claiming there had been a death in her family, an excuse to miss classes, but there was no death. Instead, she withdrew cash from an ATM, bought alcohol, and began driving north toward New Hampshire. By nightfall, she was more than 100 miles from campus. At around 7:30 p.m., her black Saturn sedan crashed on a sharp curve along Route 112. Several people heard the impact and looked outside. A couple nearby called the police. A school bus driver who also lived nearby asked if she wanted him to call the police. She said no, but he called anyway. When the police arrived, the windshield was cracked on the driver's side, both airbags deployed, and the car was locked. There was a box of wine on the back seat and a strong odor of alcohol. But Maura, she was nowhere to be seen, and within minutes, she would vanish forever. In the hours and days that followed, police, volunteers, and even helicopters searched the area, but there was nothing. With so little evidence, the case quickly turned into a puzzle of possibilities, and over the years, 4 main theories have emerged. Theory number 1. She ran away on purpose. Some believe Maura staged her own disappearance. Maybe she wanted to start over, far away from her struggles at school and in life. But this theory doesn't fit neatly. She left behind her bank cards, her phone stopped working, and she carried only a small amount of cash. If she ran away, how has she never resurfaced? Not once in 20 years. If she didn't run away, then maybe someone else stepped in. Theory 2. She was picked up. Another theory is that someone offered Maura a ride and she accepted. If that person had bad intentions, it could explain her sudden disappearance. But no one saw another car that night. No headlights, no tire tracks in snow. If Maura was picked up, it happened in a matter of minutes and by someone who left no trace. But if no car stopped, could the woods themselves have swallowed her? Theory 3. She died in the woods. Others think Maura panicked, fled into the freezing woods, and succumbed to the cold. It's a simple explanation. The search teams scoured the forest with dogs, helicopters, and hundreds of volunteers. They found nothing. No clothes, no bones, no sign of her at all. And so, the final theory, the darkest of them all. Theory 4. She was met with foul play. Of all the theories surrounding the disappearance of Maura Murray, none is darker or more chilling than the A-frame house. This last possibility gained weight when attention shifted to a strange property just over a mile from the crash site, a weathered triangle home tucked into the woods, known locally as the A-frame house. The house once belonged to Claude Malton, a man with a checkered reputation. To some in town, he was a little more than a troubled figure. To others, he was a man capable of darker things.
The A-frame first entered the case through a tip. A family member of Moulton's own family came forward, disturbed by his behavior after Maura's disappearance.
They claimed he repainted parts of the house not long after she went missing. That detail was unsettling enough for investigators to act. When cadaver dogs were brought into the A-frame, they searched room by room.
Upstairs and one of the bedrooms, they alerted,
signaling the possible scent of human remains.
Investigators cut away pieces of the carpet and wood. Those samples were collected as evidence. Soon after, reports began to spread. The carpet had been tested positive for blood. Some even claimed it was female blood. For a brief moment, it seemed the mystery might finally be unraveling. The police discovered Claude wrote a diary entry dated the day after the crash about meeting an angel and making her an angel. He also reportedly worked at a place capable of crushing cars. He reported to have gotten rid of his car shortly after Maura disappeared.
But the breakthrough never came. The results were never released publicly. No arrests were made, and no evidence was ever confirmed to belong to Maura. Some say the samples were mishandled. Others say they were inconclusive.
Even private investigators working with the Murray family were told blood had been found, but they were too left without answers. The silence only deepened the suspicion. If the A-frame house held the key, why wasn't it pursued further? Was it sloppy evidence handling or something more? To this day, the house still stands, worn and unassuming, its presence hanging over the case like a shadow. For many, it represents the darkest possibility that Maura did not disappear into the woods, but instead ended up inside those walls and never made it out. If that is true, then someone knows. Someone knows what happened in the A-frame house.
And for 2 decades, they've managed to keep the truth buried. Until the questions are answered, the A-frame house will remain one of the most disturbing chapters in the mystery of Maura Murray. Each theory offers a possible answer, but each one collapses under the weight of missing evidence. And that's the tragedy of this case. Maura Murray didn't just vanish into thin air. Something happened on that road. We just don't know what. 20 years later, the road where Maura vanished is still quiet, still cold. But for her family, and for those who spent years searching, the silence is deafening. Did she run away? Was she picked up? Did she die in the woods? Or was she the victim of something darker? Something that still hides in the shadows of that small New Hampshire town.
For Maura's family, the search has never stopped. Through their official website, mauramurraymissing.org, they share updates, preserve her story, and ask for the public's help. Tips can also be sent directly to the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit at 603-223-3648 or by email at codecaseunit@dos.nh.gov. And for those who wish to reach the family privately, they provided a direct contact, Maura Murray Family Direct @gmail.com, because to them, Maura isn't just a name on a case file. She's a daughter, a sister, and a friend. And until the truth is known, they will never stop searching.
Somewhere out there, someone knows what happened on that cold New Hampshire night. Until they speak, Maura Murray's story remains unfinished. This is Timeline Unfolded.